Iran and the United States made significant progress in talks in Switzerland on Thursday, mediators said after the latest round of negotiations, and agreed to further discussions next week. The two sides adjourned after around 3 hours of talks and resumed the discussions later in the day.
میتونم بگم که در این چندین ساعت طولانی و بسیار فشرده پیشرفت خوبی رو داشت و خیلی جدی وارد عناصر یک توافق شدیم، هم در حوزه هسته‌ای و هم در حوزه تحریم‌ها.
The talks were not expected to lead to a breakthrough, and the U.S. continues to waste strikes as it gathers a massive fleet of aircraft and warships in the region. Last Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump gave Tehran 15 days to reach a deal. Trump wants Iran to completely halt its enrichment of uranium and roll back both its long-range missile program and its support for regional armed groups. Iran says it will only discuss nuclear issues and maintains its atomic program is for entirely peaceful purposes.
Doctors in Iran say Tehran's security agents dressed in plain clothes reportedly obstructed them from administering care to injured protesters at hospitals. One medical professional said a man in his 40s was rushed to the hospital's emergency unit after being shot in the head at close range during a demonstration. When he and others tried to hurry into the room to tend to him, he said the agents blocked their way, pushing some back with their rifles. The man was pronounced dead minutes later, after which agents placed his body in a black body bag, which they transferred along with other bodies into the back of a van and drove off. Doctors say this was not an isolated incident. They reported that in January, plainclothes officers swarmed hospitals in multiple cities, where they often also obstructed care to patients in critical condition. They added that the officers also intimidated staff, snatched protesters, and took away the dead in body bags. Dozens of doctors were also reportedly arrested simply for performing their duties.
Pakistan has declared open war on Afghanistan, launching a series of airstrikes on major cities, including the capital Kabul, on Friday. The attack follows a deadly exchange of fire overnight, with the Taliban reportedly retaliating for previous Pakistani strikes along the border. Pakistani Defense Minister Khawaya Mohammad Asif said they had hoped for peace and stability in the region after the NATO withdrawal, but had now lost all patience, claiming the country became a colony of India exporting terrorism. The Taliban government denied Islamabad's claims that it is failing to act against militant groups. The conflict comes after months of rising tensions and a failed ceasefire brokered by Qatar and Turkey, which has already left dozens of soldiers and civilians dead, also leading to a massive migrant crisis. With Saudi Arabia now attempting to mediate, the UN warns that the escalating violence threatens to plunge the entire region into a humanitarian disaster.
President Emmanuel Macron, who has the power to unleash France's nuclear arsenal, will update the French nuclear deterrence doctrine on Monday. His speech is expected as Europe is concerned Russia's threats could extend beyond Ukraine and doesn't know if it can count on the protective umbrella of US nuclear weapons.
If one day there is a reason that we cannot believe anymore in the US security guaranteed, that all the forces, both nuclear and conventional, are withdrawn from Europe, in that regard, yes, France and the UK will really have to step up, maybe increase the number of warheads. But the most important thing, I think, is to prevent national proliferation.
France has fewer than 300 warheads, which is sufficient to inflict unacceptable damage to any country threatening its vital interests, Emmanuel Macron said in 2020.
There is, for the moment, no plan of sharing the decision to use nuclear weapons. It will always be up to the French president to decide, and there is not the idea of the allies paying for the French nuclear deterrent.
While China and North Korea are expanding their nuclear arsenal, the United States considers resuming nuclear tests. Commission President Ursula von der Leyen decided Friday to move ahead with the provisional application of the Mercosur trade agreement. It brushes aside a judicial review launched by MEPs that has suspended the ratification process.
The Commission will continue to work closely with all EU institutions, member states and stakeholders to ensure a smooth and transparent process. Let me conclude. Mercosur is one of the most consequential trade agreements of the first half of this century.
French President Emmanuel Macron has criticized the European Commission's decision.
C'est aussi une lourde responsabilité vis-à-vis des citoyens européens et de leurs représentants qui n'ont pas été dûment respectés. En substance, pour la France, c'est une surprise et une mauvaise surprise. Et pour le Parlement européen, c'est une mauvaise manière.
The deal has split member states for years. While Germany has championed the agreement as bolstering access to global markets, France has led opposition, arguing that it will expose EU farmers to unfair competition.
Lithuania's Prime Minister has rejected Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's claim that Ukraine is deliberately blocking Russian oil from reaching Hungary via the damaged Druzhba pipeline. Inga Ruginienie told Euronews' flagship morning program, Europe Today, that the accusation was absurd.
When you faced off every day with the threats, different kind of threats from balloons and other things, when you're fighting for the security, not just for Lithuania, but for whole Europe, to hear such words and decisions, it's nonsense.
Hungary is blocking the EU's 20th sanctions package against Russia and preventing Brussels from delivering a 90 billion euros loan to Ukraine, demanding Kiev restore all flows through the pipeline. Kiev claims that a section of the pipeline was hit by a Russian drone. Estonian Prime Minister Kristen Michal told Euronews' flagship morning show Europe Today that Russian President Vladimir Putin cannot afford to end Moscow's war in Ukraine. While Michal said he does not claim to understand Putin, he believes the logic of dictatorship explains Moscow's continued aggression even as negotiations take place.
It's like riding a bike, being a dictator, that when you stop, you will fall over. That is the same with Vladimir Putin. For example, everybody in Europe, and I always remind my colleagues that right now Putin has more men under the arms than at the start of the war. If we would stop right now, and he would stop right now killing women and children in Ukraine, then what to do with those guys?
Michal warned that a premature peace without firm security guarantees could create instability not only inside Russia but across Europe. His comments come as an EU plan to mobilize 90 billion euros in support for Ukraine remains politically blocked. Michal expressed confidence that European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa would find alternative ways to unlock the funding.
Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton told members of Congress on Thursday that she had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's or Ghislaine Maxwell's crimes, starting off 2 days of depositions that will also include former President Bill Clinton. The closed-door deposition concluded after over 6 hours of questioning. Clinton also said after her deposition that she was confident her husband did not know of Epstein's crimes.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
The hearing was briefly suspended after a photo of Clinton in the deposition was posted online, an apparent breach of the closed-door arrangement which the Republican side had asked for.
They had a chance to do it in public, and I wish they had done it in public. And I think they're making the wrong decision, avoiding doing it in public.
Bill Clinton has emerged as a top target for Republicans amid the political struggle over who receives the most scrutiny for their ties to Epstein. Several Democratic lawmakers joined with Republicans on the oversight panel in charge of the Clintons' depositions. But Democrats, including the Clintons, have also argued the investigation is being weaponized to attack political opponents of President Donald Trump rather than to conduct legitimate oversight, and have called on Trump to testify as well.
Στην Ελλάδα δεν υπάρχει σιδηροδρομική κουλτούρα όπως σε άλλες χώρες, κυρίως της Κεντρικής Ευρώπης. Μετά το τραγικό δυστύχημα των τεμπών, η επιβατική κίνηση στα τρένα μειώθηκε κατακόρυφα, ωστόσο πλέον δείχνει σημάδια σταθεροποίησης και ανάκαμψης. Ωστόσο, οι επιβάτες που επιλέγουν τα τρένα για τη μετακίνησή τους αισθάνονται ασφαλείς?
Όχι. Προτιμώ να μην κυκλοφορώ με το τρένο. Δεν το παίρνω.
Είναι στον άνθρωπο. Άλλος νιώθει φόβο, άλλος όχι.
Αισθάνομαι ασφαλής και τα χρησιμοποιώ.
Εγώ προσωπικά ασφαλής αισθάνομαι.
3 years after the deadly train accident in Tempe, Euronews investigated train safety and sought answers from all parties.
Σήμερα τα τρένα είναι πιο ασφαλή από ό,τι ήταν στα Τέμπη και πολύ πιο ασφαλή από ό,τι ήταν το 2019. Το 2019 στο Αθήνα-Θεσσαλονίκη είχαμε μόλις 1% σύστημα τηλεδιοίκησης, μόλις 5 χιλιόμετρα τα 500 στα οποία θα έπρεπε να είναι εγκατεστημένο. Σήμερα έχουμε 80% και το καλοκαίρι που μας έρχεται, σε ένα εξάμηνο, θα έχουμε 100% σηματοδότηση, 100% τηλεδιοίκηση και 100% ETCS, σύστημα που δεν υπήρχε.
Real-life condition simulators are something new for Greece. They are now being used to train employees of the Greek railways.
Οι εκπαιδεύσεις να γίνονται συχνότερα, με μεγαλύτερη χρονική διάρκεια και ο μηχανοδηγός είναι ένας επαγγελματίας ο οποίος πρέπει να επιμορφώνεται συνεχώς.
According to officials, a state-of-the-art train geolocation system has been created in collaboration with Elon Musk's Starlink satellite system, marking a European first.
Αυτό το σύστημα είναι πρωτοποριακό για την Ευρώπη. Είναι μια τεχνολογία εχμής η οποία με δορυφορικό ίντερνετ, με επίγειους σταθμούς και με πομπούς ακριβίας μπορεί να αλλάξει πλήρως το μοντέλο με το οποίο λειτουργεί ο σιδηρόδρομος και να προσθέσει μια δικλείδα απέναντι στα ανθρώπινα λάθη.